So we can take black bear in Maine by the way of conventional hunting, spot and stalk, or just hunting out of a tree stand over a feed tree, overlooking some oak trees that bear are actively feeding at, where there's fresh sign clearly showing that bear feeding there right then and there. You can hunt bear just that way using regular deer hunting tactics to shoot your bear, or you can shoot black bear at a bait site utilizing some form of baiting tactic, or you can shoot black bear in the state of Maine using dogs, hounds, bear dogs, on a dog hunt for bear. Or you can also take bear by way of trapping. So we can take bear in the state of Maine using those 4 methods. And the number one thing that I must share with you is, and this is critical, if you want to find and locate black bear country, to be successful at harvesting a black bear, the number one thing you must do is do your homework, make your phone calls, do your research, your thorough research, and reaching out to biologists, wardens, and tagging stations in the area you're going to, and find areas that have a high density of black bear, that already harbor a large population of black bears, and then you're well on your way. You're going in the right direction. But this is a no-brainer. This is common sense. Actually go to an area that already has plenty of black bears, where there is an active hunting season in the way of baiting, hunting them with dogs, trapping them, or conventional hunting. And so go to an area like that, and clearly the state of Maine is a state in the country that you can go to pursue the black bear and be successful at shooting your first black bear, second bear, third bear, whatever. You could be a novice black bear that haven't been hunting black bear for many, many years, for eons, and you're watching this video just to maybe get a refresher and to just get excited for the upcoming season. And so I welcome you to the Spikes and Gills YouTube channel. Thank you for watching. If you're already a well-known bear hunter and you know it all, if you're a know-it-all and know everything about black bear hunting and black bear in general, then welcome. I'm glad you're still watching this video. But maybe you're a newcomer. Maybe you only had shot in maybe 1 or 2 or 3 bear utilizing a guiding outfit, a guidance service. And you went about shooting your bear hiring a guide. But now you want to go about pursuing the black bear on your own, doing your own you and yourself, me, myself, and I kind of a bear hunt. So you've come to the right place. You're watching the right video to learn how to go about doing that. Like I said, find an area that's loaded with black bear that already has like 1 bear per square mile. Here in the state of Maine, in bear country, where they're in the mountainous, wilderness, untamed, public forested land of the state, we may average close to 1 bear per square mile, which is a fairly decent population of black bear. The number 2 thing on the list, things you should do to go about locating and finding black bear to hunt, to pursue, is you've got to go to wherever it is you're going to hunt, go there and get boots on the ground, do your thorough scouting. And this is obvious. You've got to utilize your woodsmanship. This is where woodsmanship comes in handy. You've got to hit the woods, get in onto the back roads, dirt roads that lead into mountainous, wilderness, really deep, thick wilderness country where the black bear would normally live. Look for natural black bear crossings over dirt roads, over old logging roads in the mountains. And where those natural bear crossings would be where streams go through a culvert, where there's streams or rivers going under the roadways. Look for streams and running water. Look for natural springs. Go towards lakes and ponds in the bear country and when walking along the trails and out there scouting, look for that telltale sign of black bear, which would be scat, fresh bear poop. Tracks are going to be hard to identify, to see, because it's just going to be flat, matted down earth. It's not going to be divoted track like your hoofed mammals, your moose and your deer. Obviously, their tracks are extremely easy to catch. They're deer tracks, moose tracks, are so easy to see because their hooves are pointed and they've got hard nail, and they're digging into the earth, into the leaf litter and the pine needles and into the mud and dirt, and they're leaving divots and dug out pieces of earth. And as those deer and moose are walking, they're kicking up dirt behind them, leaving prominent hoof prints in the ground. But bear, they're flat-footed like us humans. Their tracks aren't going to be so easy to spot, to see. But a bear trail, a trail that black bear periodically walking every week, every couple days, every few days, weekly, every month even, those trails will be easy to spot, more so than just a plain track in itself. Because those trails are going to be they'll be so many inches wide, and they'll be in the earth. The substrate on that trail is going to be matted down and packed down flat and tight. All the leaves and sticks and everything will be smushed down and flat, where these flat-footed mammals are walking. And another thing black bears do, as black bears are walking these tracks, these matted down flat paths through the woods on these natural bear crossings and stuff, they're putting the back foot where the front foot was. As they're walking, the front foot steps here, and then as they step forward with the other front foot and pick up this front foot to put it forward, that back foot on the left side is fallen into where the left front foot was. They're doing one foot in the other. And this is a lot of the reason why black bears that are hunting over baits, or in general, let's say you're just hunting over a feed tree, and oak trees that bear feeding at in the mountains, on the mountainous ridges, or ridge tops of the mountains, and you're just sitting there ambushing the bear, hoping them to come to feed that evening because you see the fresh bear sign and stuff. Or you're just sitting over a bait barrel at a bait site, and you don't hear a peep, but all of a sudden out of nowhere pops a black bear right in front of you, like 20-30 yards in front, and you've never heard them coming. This would be why, because the black bears put one foot in the other as they're stepping forward with this front foot, this front pad, and then going forward with the other one to support themselves, to pick up this front foot, to bring it forward. That back foot on the left side is going to drop down right where that front left foot was, and it's one foot in the other as they're walking, and their paths are matted down flat. They've already smushed and broke away all the crunchy leaves and needles and sticks that were in their way on these paths they use daily, every other day, every couple days, every week. And they're putting one foot in the other. And this is how the black bear are able to walk virtually silently, quietly through their terrain and in their home range. And these paths they follow, they're going to stick to these same paths, going from point A to point B, from feeding area to area. In their home range, they've got all these networks of paths to walk. No different than your deer and moose. They walk the same deer paths. The moose walk the same moose paths. They like the path of least resistance. It makes sense for all the critters and animals to walk the same paths day in and day out, week in and week out, and month after month, and to go around travel through their home range, so it's easy travel. But the black bear, they're virtually walking around silently, quietly in their terrain, their woods. So a hunter that is hard of hearing, especially, and a hunter that us humans, we don't hear as well as a bear, hear as well as a deer, moose, and other animals. Our hearing isn't as good and as acute, so we virtually cannot hear a bear approaching our bait site or approaching our sit spot or ambush spot when we're waiting out a black bear to come in to feed in the evening. Well, how neat is that? So you got to take all that into consideration too when you're hunting the black bear, pursuing the black bear. You're not going to necessarily hear one approaching your setup where you're sitting and ambushing that bear. Clay Newcomb, this well-known bear hunter, he's the editor of the Bear Hunting Magazine. Clay Newcomb is the host of the Bear Grease podcast, the Bear Hunting Magazine podcast. He knows a lot about black bear because of the guests he's had on podcasts, and he's a very successful black bear hunter. The one thing that Clay Newcomb swears is the best bear sign to go by. The one type of sign that he says is better than any bear tracks or any bear trail that you might think you found. And that's extremely fresh bear poop, bear scat that is barely a few hours old. So when you're doing your scouting in bear country, you've gone to the area, to the state you want to pursue the black bear, to set up your bait site, or to just spot and stalk, or hopefully just to conventionally hunt bear using regular deer hunting tactics and methods and stuff to try to shoot a black bear. The number one sign that you want to key in on is fresh bear scat. If you come to an area, a spot in the mountains, in bear country, in the bear forest, in the woods where bear live, and you find bear poop, and it's so fresh, it appears like the bear pooped there just moments earlier or hours earlier, you've hit pay dirt. You want to focus in on that, key in on that area in hopes to shoot a black bear. Don't just focus on the immediate area where that bear pooped and focus on that immediate sign that's right in front of you. But you got to be aware of your surroundings. Look around, see the reasons why that bear pooped there. Look around and find the reasons why that bear walked through that particular area. It might be some acorns that are still dropping, fresh, sweet, yummy acorns, tender acorns that the bear are favoring at that point in time. That feed tree, there's a reason why that bear is choosing that feed tree, that oak tree, that beechnut tree or whatever, or that black cherry tree. Those cherries are the sweetest and tenderest and more nutritious for that bear at that point in time in that location of their home range. Those acorns or those beechnuts are the most nutritious and tender and sweeter at that point in time, that day, right then and there, that week. So you want to hunt there now. Figure out your game, put your game plan together. Figure out how you're going to ambush that black bear that's coming in to feed there that evening. And you could very well shoot a black bear there. You want to find a vantage point. Maybe sit back up on the ridge 30, 50, 100 yards away. If you're rifle hunting, get back about 100 yards or so from that feature, from where that bear's coming in to feed. And get yourself up above, elevated, so you can see real good, see an oncoming, approaching black bear coming to that area. And obviously set up and sit and ambush where the winds and thermals are pulling your scent, your human odor, away from where you expect the bear to come from, where you think he may be laying up and bedded for the day. You got to think of all this. You got to consider all this. You got to be aware. Look at your Onyx app or your aerial photos, or your map, and look at your topography and your contour lines, and look at your geography. Kind of learn the geography in the area where you're pursuing the black bear there. Kind of hone in on and figure out, key in on where the bear may be laying and bedding for the day in the heat of the day. Naturally, that may be in lower elevations where there's water and where it's cool, damp, and mossy covered. An area where they can lay up and be cool and have plenty to drink, because they eat a lot. They're consuming over 20 pounds of food a day, 25,000, 30,000 calories of food a day. They're going to be a very thirsty animal. They need to drink a lot. So they're most likely going to lay up during the day and near water. So that would be in your lowlands. So then you can go about finding the best vantage point, a place to sit, ambush that black bear before they come in for the evening to feed out of the lowlands before they come up from the river bottom, stream, brook, or stream, or the low, or maybe they're coming from a swamp, a wetland. Maybe where you're finding this fresh bear sign in this area where you're hunted, there's a big, huge heath or wetland swamp area with a river, stream running through it, or different feeder streams or inlets and outlets coming from this wetland. Maybe there's a beaver dam with a pond formed out there in the middle of this boggy heath, wetland, swamp area. An area like that, it would be where the bear would be probably bedding for the day. They're going to be laid up in the shade and damp, cool area near water. From there, heading your way for those sweet acorns or beech nuts or wherever it is you found that fresh bear scat, and where you're set up and doing your ambush. Or where you set and establish your bait site, wherever your bait is. Maybe the bear coming up from the wetland or river bottoms, or those low elevation areas where it's damp and cool. Maybe they're coming up from there to your bait site. You got to kind of figure out. You got to pay attention to your surroundings, your whereabouts. You got to find those trails, those bear trails, where the bear scat and where the bear have matted down wide, flat trails, past coming to and from the streams, or river, or pond, lakes, or the swamp, to your bait site, or to the area where you chose to bait. You got to find those natural travel corridors, travel routes for the black bear. You've got to go about pinpointing all that. Fresh bear scat, bear trails. The bear are going to use the contours and of the land and geography of the land, no different than deer and moose do. The bear are going to follow paths of least resistance. They're going to traverse ridges, the top edges, lips of ridges. The bear are going to use saddles or benches. Benches connect primary ridges of one mountain to another, and it creates that bench or saddle, if you will. The bear are going to, as they're traveling the mountains, the ridges, they're going to hit that bench and use that as a path of least resistance, as easy travel to go from one ridge to another, back and forth. Bear are going to use pinch point bottleneck areas where two ridges, high points, form a ravine, a lowland, a little rivet kind of ravine, pinch point bottleneck going between those two high points. The bear are going to go travel through there instead of going up and over the mountain on either side. This is no different than your deer and moose and other animals and critters are going to utilize. They're going to choose to go through these pinch point bottleneck funnel-like areas. You've got to key on for all these little funnel pinch point areas. And that could simply be, these pinch point bottleneck areas a lot of them aren't going to be visible from the Onyx map app or in the maps and aerial photos in your maps and stuff. A lot of times these pinch point bottleneck funnel areas aren't created by the contours of the mountains and ridges and hill country. But a lot of times it's Mother Nature forming these pinch point bottleneck areas. It could just be trees, deadfalls, old dead trees that fell down, toppled down and fell, creating pinch point areas and bottleneck areas for the deer and moose and bear and stuff to travel through. You want to key in on areas, focus on areas like that. Look for sign, bear scat, and evidence of bear coming and going through areas like that. So you've got to go about scouting, put boots on the ground, do thorough scouting, and find all these things, all these ingredients that say, yes, bear come through here. Bear are here, actually feeding here now. And then you're well on your way to being able to harvest a black bear. If you're not subscribed to Spikes and Gills already, could you subscribe, click the notification bell so you'll be notified of all future uploads by Spikes and Gills. And I'd definitely drop some comments below. I'd love to hear from you. Leave your comments below, ask me questions, or just tell me about your bear success stories, and share some tips with all my viewers. Viewers read comments. Maybe you could share some tips and things you know. Maybe there's things I forgot to mention. It could be stuff that I already know that I should have probably mentioned to my viewers watching this video. But you could leave what you know and any tricks up your sleeve to help people be successful at shooting a black bear. Leave them in the comments below. I'd greatly appreciate it. My viewers would appreciate it also. So click that like button, subscribe if you're not already. See you in the next video.